Greetings, Mech Warriors, and welcome to Martial Olympiad Reborn. I am Bandit B17, and I have a newcomer with me today, Mr. Saruman of Many Colors.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Bandit. Always nice to be welcomed, my presence graced by the godfather of shoutcasting himself, as I said earlier today. Perfectly good honor, although I hate the fact that it's at MDN's expense.
Absolutely. Of course, Saruman of Many Colors, one of the official shoutcasters for MOR, and he is with me today because MDM0 apparently decided to mess with his computer on the day of a cast and must have fried something. Rest in peace. F to pay respects for MDM. I'm sure he's watching right now and is sad that he can't be here with us today, but he will, of course, be watching and be able to catch all this exciting action. Of course, we are bringing you a North American Division A matchup between three-time world champion attendees, Empyreal, of course, two-time champion, one-time second place, Empyreal, and they will be up against a conglomerate team called Black Omen. A lot of Div A solid pilots here. From all different teams. We've got some Eon Synergy, 228, JGX, Eisengrim, D5. Just a lot of good talent. Combo team, though. Not sure how good the rapport is going to be with each of those players, but you take a lot of really good pilots, put them together. Who knows what you can accomplish.
Yeah, and to touch on the fact that 228's player base is definitely on the higher level. A lot of these 228 players aren't from the other teams, such as 228 Dead From Above or 228 Swamp Foxes, teams that were getting up. This was the highest. This 228 Wild Ones, which was 228's top-level Aussie team. They made the WC beforehand. They were very aggressive in all the other WCs thereafter. They made it to the semifinals every single year. And on top of that, Eon Synergy is also with them as well. And then you have Blaketown and Navid A1, the Light Savants from Dropship 5, offering their skill set in order to bolster the Light Lance. Very smart move, I feel, from Krasnopesky, as he's going to need all the help he can get against this Imperial Light Lance.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's any group of players that you think can go up against EMP, just basically forming up out of nowhere, getting together and forming a team and can take it to Empyreal, I think this is probably the team that can do it.
And I would agree with that 110%. Best of 228's Australian team, best of JGX, best of Dropship 5 back in their heyday, best of Eon Synergy. We're going to see what happens, and right now, I believe, Bandit, that we are trying to get them going on the map ban. Krasnopesky says he's yes. We're just waiting for a confirmation from Empyreal to see if they're good to start banning away. All
right, we're going to switch over to that screen now and see what maps get banned. Of course, the map ban is for drops 4 and 5. We take the ban, do it right away, just so we know what map 4 and 5 will be. But besides that, drop 1 is kind of a big deal here. Solaris City is the first time Solaris City's been shown in a league. This is the first league where Solaris City has made its debut. Of course, we've had other matches, I believe, already play out with Solaris City. How did those go?
The matches in Solaris City were kind of a mixed bag. Evil against... when Evil played JGX, they essentially tried to surprise JGX with a Lerm strategy, and it really didn't work out that well. Meanwhile, you had Eon Synergy and Phoenix Legion play a bit more of a standard rush to the center and try and control its strategy, and it seemed to work out much better for Eon Synergy than it did for Phoenix Legion. But right now the bans are going out. They were actually already completed, very swift. That's what you can expect from two professional Div A teams, and it looks like we're going with River City, contrary to the fact that Alpine Peaks has been the most popular map this season, followed by Rubelite, which was bolstered by the fact that a lot of EU teams have been selecting Rubelite, nonetheless of them being Eon Synergy and Phoenix Legion, who played Rubelite earlier today.
Yeah, of course, last cast that I did for MOR, we saw River City for map 4 and 5 there as well, and some pretty exciting matchups. I don't know if you guys had a chance to catch that one, but that was Mercstar versus... I'm having a brain fart now. Mercstar versus... Smoke Adders. Mercstar versus Smoke Adders was an incredible match. It was such a fun match to watch. What a great opportunity to come back into casting at the beginning of the season to watch that 3-2 decision. And it, of course, did finish up on River City, so I'll be excited to see, you know, you go from that Div B style on River City, we take that into Div A. Is it going to be a completely different set of matches from what we saw against those other two teams?
Definitely, and it's also going to be different from what we've even seen from some Div A matches. I think everyone knows that EU comp and NA comp kind of have different styles. EU generally considered a little more unconventional, but even in their unconventionalness, it was Div A that actually brought the lerms to this map, which might not exactly be the most effective, mainly because the buildings offer a lot of cover and because of the fact that direct fire is just more appropriate, especially with mechs that have jump jets. But you never know what'll happen, you know? Self and Kraz could have big ideas up their sleeves.
Yep. So I'm just taking a quick look over here at the map strat showing Solaris City Conquest. A very symmetrical map. I haven't had the opportunity to play competitively on this map yet, so this is going to be really exciting for me to watch as a former competitor, to see how these teams really go in this truly like symmetrical kind of setup here. A lot of tall buildings. There's definitely some open area as well. How have you seen this map played out so far?
Well, at the top level Div A teams, as I said, they kind of went from Gamma, and each one established different points of Kappa and Epsilon. Meanwhile, the main body would rush Theta, with one team sending a highly mobile light to try and capture that Theta point first, because whoever held it first kind of had the advantage in the fact that they didn't have to push into Theta in order to capture it, because Theta is mainly a kill zone. Now, as I said, Evil did something extremely unconventional. They had lerms and set up at the edge of the map, Charlie 2, Delta 2, Echo 2 side, but I'm not sure how many high-level comp teams are going to do that, and even Evil themselves kind of admit that it was a surprise, but the teams are ready to launch, so let's get this match started.
All right, let's take a look. I could see how this map might end up in more of a brawl capacity just with how kind of tight it is, but do you see any big trades potentially happening here? There's not a lot of high ground, is there?
The high ground is going to come in the form of the upper highways on Solaris City that even non-jump jet mechs can walk up to on the outer ring of the city. You know, those highways kind of have ramps up so that way you can get to the higher highways, and that's going to be pretty much the only form of high ground unless you have jump jets or you're a high-level jump jet mech like the Shadowcat, and you can kind of get on the ledges hidden throughout the large skyscrapers in the city, as Toaster kind of told me when we were first casting this match. I'm not sure if we're going to see those jump jet mechs this match because their DPS is questionable, but I do think that we will see mechs try and get on these higher level highways to try and initiate strong trades off the high ground.
All right, my son unplugged my controller when I didn't notice, but we are back in, and I'm actually moving around and taking a look here. Let's just hit all the fun buttons that I have to hit.
Well, while you're hitting buttons, if you don't mind,
yeah, what are we up against here?
List.
Go ahead.
Right now, it looks like Black Omen is taking a conventional setup. They have Laser and Gauss Vomit on their mechs. Lerm God and the Annihilator 1X running Laser Gauss. You also have Krasnopesky Navid running medium pulse lasers on their Phoenix Hawks. That's kind of their bread and butter light lance. And Airwalker running Laser Vomit Gauss. Blake Town and the Spider Vive V. He's going to be the speed to try and take Theta. And on Empyreal side, you kind of have something that might be not as similar, actually. It looks like they're running DACA. Reckless running UAC 10, UAC 5 Vomit in the Sleipner. McGoat bringing UAC 5, UAC 10s as well, and his Annihilator 2A. Stimrog bringing
Blake Town with a full cap almost on Theta, but 3 members of Empyreal coming in, getting some shots in, and start capping it back. But it's all going to be for naught if they can't start getting some shots in here. Interesting, we got a couple Phoenix Hawks jumping up high and not taking any shots down into Theta. They're just watching. I don't know how they can stand up there and not get engaged.
It's very possible that the Phoenix Hawks might be in there just to kind of ambush the situation, waiting for the heavy body before they engage. Since from what I'm seeing, there's still a lot of ways that Radix, Self, and Charlemagne can take care of this push. They very well could be.
Oh,
yeah.
Now they're taking some
like
gank shots
now.
into Charlemagne. They got some early shots in, but it's amazing. 3 people on Theta. Nobody saw these 2 Phoenix Hawks sitting up on the ledge there, and they took some early shots in, getting Charlemagne down to 95%. Not too much damage, but they sent Blake Town over to get another cap on Epsilon, but Empyreal seemingly just rotating around behind him. Every cap he gets, they just take it right back.
And it looks like the trades are already going out. Interestingly enough, the setup from Black Omen versus Empyreal is similar to the setup of differences between Phoenix Legion and Eon Synergy, with Empyreal kind of filling the role of Eon Synergy. We'll see if their trading ability is a top-notch above Phoenix.
Drop one, of course, an extremely heavy deck. Lot of tonnage here on the field, and these two Annihilators, Lermgod and JZ, making the big push into main body for Empyreal. Lermgod down to 34% as a focus target, but JZ, they had to switch to him. He's getting slaughtered down to 45. They got a lot of shots into Magoat in that Annihilator, and a good strike, but Lermgod gets taken down by Rick Rom in the Annihilator. Magoat did a great job filtering back, keeping his mech alive, and so far, 2 dead, 2 Annihilators dead for Black Omen. Great work by Empyreal, but they do have a lot of hurt mechs as well. Black Omen needs to get in there and finish some of these because they still have weapons. Magoat down to 21%.
It's also worth noting that Pasha's down 66%, and that 66% is the 66% that counts. His center and side torsos are both open.
Ooh, and he gets taken down. That's some great aim by Empyreal, and like you said, that's where it counts, right into the center torso. 3 mechs remaining, but they did manage to take 4 Empyreal mechs down, and those Phoenix Hawks now up on top of the railing here, getting some shots in onto Selith and Stormcrow, but they're starting to give chase.
And it looks like Krasnopet and Navid is stuck. Blaketown's trying to run away. While Blaketown and Navid are fresh, it's worth noting that Blaketown is solely a cap mech. All he really has is 2 medium lasers, and despite all the prodigious talent that Blaketown has from his time on Dropship 5, Eisen, and playing CW with high-level units, I don't think that you're going to be able to clutch out against 5 mechs with only 2 medium lasers. And Navid's currently getting hunted down by the team. Selth at 80% to Navid 78. Once again, however, Selth's percentages are a little more concerning, mainly because his center and side torsos, his center torso specifically, is almost open. If Navid gets good burns in there, Selth could be in big trouble, and the Stormcrow center torso is very easy to hit, but Navid is trying to flee the scene with Blaketown. They're trying to get the win on caps.
Looks like Navid just wanted to get a little bit of separation, drawing Selith away from the rest of their team, and he's turning now to try and get the gank, but here comes Bowser in that summoner, and he's going to help him out. Blaketown in the area as well, but like you said, not a lot of weaponry on that mech. Navid is going to have a tall order to be able to take some of these guys out. Working on Bowser now.
However, is isolated, and that's going to be an issue. Selth is going to have a hard time supporting him because the center torso is cherry red open.
And he gets the kill on Selith. But a bad overheat, and Bowser able to take advantage of that overheat, shoot him in the back, and take him down. Blaketown now with just those medium pulse lasers trying to work on Bowser. But 3 mechs for Empyreal, even if he takes Bowser out, they're able to get multiple caps now. 3 caps in favor of Empyreal. And they're starting to spread out and get the rest as well.
The cap situation is definitely turning over in Empyreal's favor, and I love what Bowser's doing. He's kind of using the terrain and the elevation against Blaketown, even though Blaketown has the higher jump jets. He can't consistently sustain a DPS fight, and Bowser's just trying to keep Blaketown occupied on the cap point and be a threat to occupy that cap while the rest of his team rallies around the caps. Bowser's essentially just buying time because he knows that his team will just outcap Blaketown because Blaketown's just 1 mech. Radic is still super fresh in his Stormcrow 5. Charlemagne is fairly fresh, 75% in his Crab 27B, and Stimrog really doesn't have to do much since those mechs have enough speed and firepower to be able to outcap Blaketown easy.
Bowser just using his armor to just hold Blaketown off the point for as long as possible. Of course, Gamma is in control of Blaketown, so Bowser not able to flip it back. But good twisting by Bowser, good use of his armor to just draw this fight out as long as humanly possible.
And now it looks like Empyreal is getting the 4 cap, and the win is looking to be clearer and clearer. Bowser, once again, just dragging out this fight. And looking at Bowser again, like his side torso, it's almost done, but the amount of time he's held out is exceptional. And Bowser is very good at hiding components. Assuming Blaketown only has those 2 medium lasers, it's going to be hard for him to get it, although it is cherry red. Once that left torso pops,
and it
pops, and he's down.
So, but good job, Bowser, just utilizing that armor to its fullest. And, of course, allowing his teammates to go around, cap the 4 cap. Gamma is in control of Black Omen, but with 465 tickets, 100 lead at least, it's going to be tough to flip as many tickets as they need. And, of course, in MOR, it all comes down to the wins and losses here. The kills aren't really going to get them anything additional. Not looking good for Black Omen in drop 1.
The kills can help if the matches are close, which this very well could be. This could be a situation where Black Omen will need to get as many kills as possible, but you are right, Bandit. Wins matter the most, and having the drop 1 win is a very big deal. This is a statement win, especially since some of these players are playing a little out of position. Charlemagne's much more comfortable in mechs that move a little faster than the Crab, and I would say the same thing for a player like Radic, who does a little better work in the Stormcrow. And I also love EMP's strategy. They're getting rid of unfavorable mechs like the Stormcrow, the Annihilator, and the Crab out early, so that way they can save the true firepower mechs like the Mad Cat Mark II, the Supernova, the Vulcan, as we saw when they played 228th, in drops that matter, the later drops where these matches could really come down to the wire. So even though this match was close and Black Omen got a lot of kills, it definitely helped Empyreal's position that they essentially threw mechs away that weren't that important.
Blaketown realizing the severity of the situation, just trying to just slow the bleed down by using his cap accelerator to get these caps flipped as quickly as possible instead of drawing out the fight. But at this point, 100 tickets remaining for Empyreal. I don't think there's any hope for Blaketown to be able to pull this one back.
At 650, I would 110% agree with you. There is no hope, and it's not a mark against Blaketown. He's just ill-equipped with the mech. There's really nothing the 5e can do in this situation. It won't be able to outduel the Crab, and it won't be able to outduel the Stormcrow unless all of a sudden Blaketown downloads some sort of wall hack and aimbot hack.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen, of course. But one hell of a firefight there. Definitely, it seemed like Empyreal had good angles on the approach for Black Omen. That kind of walked into a little bit of a kill box, but good damage going out from Black Omen on the approach. But Empyreal's ability to just siphon out hurt mechs, keep their weapons intact, and basically good focus on those initial 2 Annihilators on that push. Lermgod and Jay-Z just getting slaughtered down in record time.
And it's a testament to the fact that their focus fire was definitely on point. We saw Phoenix Legion run a similar deck against Eon Synergy. Eon Synergy was much more capable in rotating out and doing their thing. But this time, sir, it's just like EMP knew exactly how to apply that DPS where they had to. They pushed when they needed to, they withdrew when they needed to, and they showed the superiority of their deck, and it shows in the damage numbers, which, if you don't mind, Bandit, would you like me to go over them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bowser leading the way with 843 damage, 3 kills in his summoner. Amazing game from Bowser. That's what we like to see. Customary game from him. Reckless, 566 damage in his Cyclops. The Annihilators did well, too. Stinrog McGoat pulling in similar numbers at around 400 damage. Rickrom, 350. Falling behind a little bit. Radic himself also pulling in decent numbers, around 400. Charlemagne, the underperformer, which is kind of not customary. He's definitely one of the better light pilots, especially on Empyreal, and we'll probably see those numbers boost up, but it's just a great win. Meanwhile, on Black Omen, the damage numbers are much more even, but it also goes to show that the DPS side of Black Omen just wasn't able to do enough. Kondo and Pasha were the only ones that broke over 400 damage on this Black Omen team.
And we'll go over and take a look at the Red Imp stance. Love this tool. Beautiful utilization of the API. I'm so glad that somebody used their skills to bring this up. But yeah, as you can see, just a lot of hurt mechs on there. It was a really good firefight. You don't often see, especially in big trade battles, when it's just more of a poke deck or something like that. Usually you see a snowball effect where one person makes a mistake, things start to fall apart, and you can frequently, even in the highest level of this game, see 8-to-1 situations as things just go south. In this case, it's not that often you see a Div A style matchup where there's 2 mechs on one team and 1 mech on the other at the end of the match.
And it's a testament to the fact that even though JGX was getting focus fired down like crazy, even though that they were on the back foot, even though that they were the one engaged by Empyreal, that match was still close. That despite the DPS slight disadvantage, that they were still able to attempt to bring it back. I honestly think that if Blaketown was in a different mech, not the Spider 5e, that that Black Omen could have had a better chance of victory at the very least. There's not much that 5e is going to do, and I really hate that pick. I just don't see how that Spider 5e was going to be impactful. I feel like that if they wanted to really try and run to the cap point quickly, that maybe they should have used a Commando or a Flea or something else, but not the 5e. There's really not much Blaketown could do, and it's kind of a disservice to Blaketown's skills that he was unfortunately put in such a bad spot. Now, I'm guessing that the reason Black Omen selected it is because they don't want to waste a good mech on this kind of match, but even still, it feels like that match was still winnable.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some really interesting stuff there throughout that entire match that I really wish I could have seen fleshed out a little bit more. Obviously, the Spider 5e, an interesting pick, most likely just because of the speed, jump jets, and cap acceleration abilities of that mech, especially if you're going to play the cap game, but like, what was that pick? What was the point of that pick? You're not playing the long game if you're just going to be calling a push right into an Imperial firing line. So having a little bit more firepower from that mech, I think, would have been a little bit more useful. I mean, what he basically, I don't think his goal, his purpose ever really was realized in any way, shape, or form. He got that initial cap on Theta, but then he just gave up that cap to the 3 mechs from Empyreal that came in. So what was the point of that initial grab? Then they had the 2 Phoenix Hawks, which was a very interesting situation, that they go jump up with an overwatch of Theta, but then they hold their fire, and Empyreal doesn't see those 2 mechs up there. They wait seemingly until there's just 1 mech remaining out of the group, attempt the gank, but only get 95%. Like, they got 5% damage in, whereas if they could have gotten like a back core or something, that would have been a significant pickup for the team. But once again, something that they must have practiced and something that they planned on, because it was very coordinated. That wasn't an accident that they ended up in that position. They wanted to be there, and nothing came of it. And it was rough, because those Phoenix Hawks could have been ground level. They could have been firing into Theta to stop the recap, but instead they just kind of gave it up to the other team.
Well, I'm thinking what JGX's plan might have been was that they were waiting for the perfect time, and if they shot immediately, that's 3 mechs to their 2. And even though they're Stormcrows, the Stormcrows still have good arm mounts, they still have lasers on the top of their heads, they can still aim up and do damage on the Phoenix Hawks. I think that the biggest problem was that the Phoenix Hawks waited too long to get their shots. They were a little too patient. Once the mechs went by, they should have shot Charlemagne a little quicker just to get some extra DPS. And I think that your point is very valid in the fact that because they only did 95% and that damage was a little spread, it didn't count for much. If we can go to the map strat, I believe, would that be okay?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so just real quick, looking at this map, it looked like that Eon Synergy almost set up crossing through to the Delta 5 area, and Empyreal kind of met them. Whoops, wrong marker, carrying over my mistakes from one stream to the next. Sorry about that. But going back to it, it looked like that Eon Synergy, Black Omen, they kind of just brought their fire over to Delta 5, and it looked like they were almost a little bit surprised by Imperial's movement. Imperial going by Echo 5, and it looked like the main fight was happening over the side cap point. And I don't think that Black Omen actually expected to fight in this area. Like, it almost seemed like it caught them by surprise a little bit, and that the push was kind of reactionary, which could explain why they went Spider, but it still doesn't explain why they insisted on pushing anyway instead of folding back. And once again, we had these 2 Phoenix Hawks up there around Theta, brilliantly placed, Krasnopesky and Blaketown. Props to them for creativity and inventiveness, but as you said, they really didn't attribute much in the match because they did shit damage to Charlemagne that he ignored, especially considering the fact that the Crab is a very, very tanky medium mech. But what did you see, Vaguely Bandit?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that bothered me the most out of all of it is it seemed like a very basic push. Like, there must have been something I missed, or maybe they saw something at the ground level that they thought they could take advantage of. And just the fact that they were able to pull off 6 kills despite that push, they must have seen something. Somebody must have been out or in the open or something that they decided to call that push. But really, it seemed to be like a single point of push into a nice concave. Like, there was mechs all over the place. All of them had their weapons to bear on that initial push, and those 2 Annihilators paid for it. They did have their Annihilators up front, which is a very tanky mech, And if you're gonna push, it's probably the best mech to have up in the front. Not a good poke mech though. Like I don't like seeing Annihilators used necessarily in trade battles. It seems to shine the most when it gets out there and just starts pouring the damage out and soaking the damage in. And they used that effectively. They did. It's just maybe if they had those Phoenix Hawks backstabbing, giving them some sort of getting some of the mechs turned around, something like that. But really just allowing Empyreal to put all of their focus into Jay-Z and Lermgod, and then also protect their own mechs. It spelled disaster from the very beginning. I am actually just amazed, though, that Black Omen was able to give it back to him as well as they did.
And I think that's going to be what we're going to see throughout these drops. Not going to be easy wins for Empyreal. Even though Black Omen lost, it was definitely a statement, since they were essentially... they were essentially fighting that match 8v7, all things considered. Mainly because that Spider's not going to be useful in a fight. And I do agree with you that if the Phoenix Hawk kind of was able to get involved, get back shots instead of just supporting the main body in the back, or the slow reaction during the initial engagement, that fight probably could have been turned around a different way. But at the same time, once again, going back to the Spider, with that mech, you have to understand that you're going into an engagement 8v7. And despite that still, Black Omen almost pulled out the win. So I think that we might even see something more competitive on Polar Highlands, even though there are no lock-on missiles, meaning no Lerms, thank goodness, because they would be hell on earth on this Polar Highlands map. We've seen some interesting strategies from teams so far. We've seen Phoenix Legion do a light brawl rush. We've seen Evil do mid-range poke. We've seen Eon Synergy and 228 mix it up with heavy on lights and heavy on the heavy assault mechs to try and mix it up with close-range battle and long-range attacks. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, Domination seems to be the best game mode when you've got such a light drop. It really brings the fight to the center of the map. There are, of course, options for kiting, options for range. But yeah, no lock-on weapons, especially with how light and how little armor is on the field. Lock-on weapons, especially on this map, would be a little ridiculous. So thankfully, due to the rule set, that won't be a problem here. But yeah, Polar Highlands domination, initial trades over the dish, and then a lot of times it can de-evolve into just a general whoever blinks first kind of situation. But one of the big things with these two teams, obviously, I just want to make one more point. Black Omen pulling it as close as they did, in my opinion, making a bit of a mistake on that push. If everything goes according to Black Omen's plan, I'd watch out if I was Empyreal.
And right now we're having a little bit of difficulty, as Jay-Z pointed out. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, viewers. We were a little into the discussion. EMP is over 5 tons. So we can't really launch because even though it is 5 tons, we have to abide by rules and we have to respect the process. So EMP is just going to have to ton down a fire starter to an urban mech, ton down an urban mech to a mist lynx, whichever. I'm pretty sure it's not intentional by Empyreal. It was just a bit of a tonnage mistakes, and it looks like it might be either Charlemagne Stealth or Stimrog, so it seems like a light might be tunning down right now, which could present some interesting possibilities as to what they plan to bring.
How many fire starters do you think we're going to be seeing in this match?
Hopefully none.
You don't like walking around in a medium or heavy-sized light?
Yeah, because that's how I want to spend my afternoon, Bandit, running around in a medium heavy-sized light with the armor of an urban mech. Actually, less armor than an urban mech, just to have my leg vaporized by ATMs. Totally the way I want to play MWO. 2 thumbs up, 10 out of 10.
And the agility of an Atlas.
Exactly.
All right, looks like they fixed their tonnage issue. Hopefully everybody's going to be ready to go, and then we can get into Drop 2 Domination Polar Highlands.
Little bit of a hiccup, but nothing that couldn't be solved. Thank you very much. Shout out to Jay-Z for pointing that out to me.
So, Empyreal up 1-0 on the series. Black Omen, though, making a game out of it. We'll have to see what they do to bring this one back. Of course, drops 2 and 3, both Polar Highlands domination. We will be switching map sides, but I'm not sure how much that's going to matter for this map.
For Polar Highlands, I do agree with you. I don't think that the sides are going to matter. The only difference might be a little bit in how long it will take one team to get to the circle over the other. I do believe Drop 1 is the team that has the advantage in the fact that they can get to the circle quicker. And if you look at the map, drop one's points might be a little more defensible in the fact that they're buried in a couple more rocks than drop two's, but other than that, the difference is almost negligible, and that difference in distance can easily be made up by bringing an aforementioned flea, an aforementioned piranha, a death snail. If you want to waste your one hero mech on that, go ahead, power to you. I'm all for it, but even still, this is a very symmetrical map, and that's kind of what makes it fair, and that's why it's a staple map of competitive MechWarrior Online. And now, if you don't mind, is it okay if I go into the builds?
Go for it.
All right, so we have Jay-Z bringing 4 ER large lasers in his Hellbringer. We have Dogmeat, Dario, Pasha. Let's see what they're bringing. Dogmeat bringing machine guns, heavy, small laser, and this is his mislinks. Dario bringing small pulse laser, Locust 1E. Smart choice. Pasha bringing micro pulse laser, ERPPCs on this Hunchback 2CA. That used to be a favorite of Osiris. I'm excited to see it. Blaketown bringing the Flea 17, so I'm guessing he's the one that's going to be running rough shot over the point. Lermgod, ER large and ER medium laser vomit from his Roughneck. Daenerys Walker, similar situation, ER large lasers from his Roughneck. And basically, it's a combination of laser trading. Now, over on EMP's side, this is very interesting. Laser Vomit linebackers combined with the Nova small pulse laser micro lasers. I know why that's being run. It's because it's Zios. Zios is a champion in that build, and I can't wait to see him do tons of damage in it. Charlemagne running his staple Wolfhound 2. I hate it. He loves it. I don't know why. And the rest of the mechs are pretty similar. Vulcan's being run by EMP. Medium pulse laser builds. They worked amazingly well on Mining Collective. Let's see how they work out here.
Black Omen getting an initial 4 seconds on the circle. They did reach it first by a little bit, but doesn't necessarily mean much unless we are drawn to a tie. I doubt with these two teams that that's going to be an issue, though. Everybody getting their mechs up to the dish here, and we can see those trades start going out.
And it looks like that even though Black Omen's bringing the trade mechs, that Empyreal is intelligently keeping their heads down and waiting for the right time to push. It looks like Empyreal's bringing a bit of a speed brawl / mid-range deck. They're going to want to try and close the gap on those mechs from Black Omen quickly, but Black Omen kind of has an advantage on this. Phoenix Legion tried a similar strategy against Eon Synergy earlier today, and guess who's playing with Black Omen right now? Daenerys Walker, who was one of the first people neutralized by Phoenix Legion's rush. So I have a feeling that they're going to be a bit more prepared for this than Empyreal would like to admit, and it's going to be interesting to see their attempt to counter such a strategy.
Of course, Black Omen needs to keep some of their mechs in the circle, otherwise they will start to hemorrhage the time. It's a little bit rough, though, because they've got those ranged mechs so far away. If they continue to move to try and get angles, Empyreal can easily walk around the corner to keep their heads down. Any scratch helps, though, but looks like Empyreal's making the call. They are on the push. Charlemagne leading the way in that Wolfhound, flushing out Dogmeat in that mislinks, down to 90%.
And I hate to interrupt you, Bandit, but this is super interesting. Self in the Piranha 2 is currently in the back of Jay-Z, shooting his back area with the Hellbringer VI. Look at those shots. Jay-Z is already almost dead thanks to Self, and he might be out of the fight really early. Dario is getting out to try and focus him, and that's perfect.
And Jay-Z gets taken down, but Daenerys Walker in that Roughneck able to get a kill on one of those initial linebackers. So we are one mech apiece. Charlemagne at 74%, Dogmeat in his face at 70 with the mislinks, putting those machine guns into his legs, but he still is up and running. But the Brawl deck is getting into the range they want, and these range mechs now getting run up on here, and it's going to be rough to keep their heat down enough to put out the DPS necessary. Bowser getting a kill on Pasha, and Dogmeat in that mislinks goes down. That's a big pickup. Zaya's in that Nova taking him down.
And Lermgod is also getting focused down a little bit too. Blaketown in the Flea, 83%, but he's already
Blaketown in the Flea taking down Stimrog, well-placed shot. That brings it a little bit closer, but still, it's a lot of mechs left on the field to kill for Empyreal.
And I love Imminent Strategy. He's using the boulders to his advantage to kind of shake Blaketown a little bit.
Oh, 2 more quick kills, even it up 4-all. Big strike right in the middle there, but Kondo gets taken down by Bowser in that linebacker, and then Charlemagne brings it a little bit further away. 2 mechs to 3. They've brought it so close, and Den Airwalker at 88%. He's up against Bowser now. That's a lot of firepower right in his face, and he doesn't really have a lot of help. Blaketown in the Flea, trying to keep Ziaz and Charlemagne at bay, but it looks like he might have just gotten lagged, and he gets dispatched. Den Airwalker at 73%, now against 3 mechs, and it looks like Imperial's going to pick up another one, but dang, what a firefight.
And that was extremely close, and even worse off if it was the Roughneck that wasn't left alive and it was another mech. This would have been a disastrous situation since Charlemagne was legged and Bowser and Zios. Well, Zios was actually pretty fresh, but Bowser was definitely smoking. If it was the Lights left alive instead of that Roughneck, that definitely could have meant bad news for the Cap situation. And it looks like even though Black Omen, in a way, already saw this strategy through the Eon Synergy fight, it really didn't make much of a difference. Speed Brawl won the day with Bowser pulling up with great tanking effort, 66%. My boy Charlemagne doing his work, 56%, staying alive, killing light mech Zios, showing that the Nova is still one of the king medium brawlers at 80%. I'm pretty sure that Black Omen barely even shot him.
Yeah, he was definitely saved for last. What I was going to get into before that push started with this map is when you're playing a ranged deck in domination, you have choices. You either keep all your ranged guys together so they can all fight together, especially against the push, or you spread them out so you can start getting angles on them and force Empyreal essentially to make the move. Well, Empyreal, of course, was forced to make the move because of that angle, but Seleth with a great maneuver to get in and dispatch Jay-Z. If he hadn't done that, Jay-Z could have been firing that entire time. That could have been the difference between a win here for Black Omen or a win for Empyreal, but good maneuvering by Empyreal, good gank, and ultimately the speed, the linebackers, great choice for this. If you're gonna play a fast brawl, that's the way to do it. Get closed in on those ER large lasers and start dispatching those mechs as quickly as possible. Well done, Empyreal, but dang, once again, Black Omen getting a lot of kills, just not quite able to push it over the edge.
And also to set a note to damage, Selth only 184 damage, 2 kills. Very good spread on him. It's also worth noting quite a few of the linebackers did subpar 200 damage with the exception of Bowser, who managed to stay alive to the end. Great tanking efforts by Bowser. And another note to make is that the damage spread was much more even on Black Omen's side, but that really didn't matter much because of the fact that Black Omen was just getting focused down in the wrong way. Mechs were really just spreading damage all over the place. The focus fire was all over the place, and it didn't look like there was really much of an answer for Empyreal's brawl rush. And also, I have to give props to Seleth. That was in a seriously brave maneuver, and the fact that he was basically tanking a 2v1 fight for a good 30 seconds to a minute in a Piranha, props to him. That's not easy.
Yeah, with Jay-Z essentially getting ganked initially, still pulling 182 damage, which is relatively low, but for being the first guy jumped on, and especially against a light where you have to do all kinds of twisting and stuff to try and keep yourself alive, still pulling 182. But what happened to Pasha in that Hunchback 2C, only pulling 130 damage, and he wasn't the initial target? I mean, he might have been the initial on the push, but still, that was not a lot of damage, especially on such a cold map. You'd expect to see a little bit more numbers coming out from him.
Well, even still, it is a PPC mech, and it's worth noting that PPCs have basically been getting steadily nerfed. They've been on the...
Sounds like I lost you there, Saruman. Well, that's a shame. Looks like we lost Saruman. Hopefully he can get his audio stuff figured out. Might be on my end. Let me see. Just 1 second. All right, all right, I got him back. It was on my end.
Okay, there we go. I was a little worried that my microphone malfunctioned there. That would have been disastrous.
No, it's I've been having some issues with Discord lately, where for some reason it just randomly decides to stop broadcasting audio, and it's probably my computer. I need to replace it. It's 5 years old, but yeah. If anyone wants to donate to a new computer, feel free. But anyways,
I will give your computer an MVP shout out, sir, and let me tell you right now, if I had the money, I would definitely donate it to you.
No problem. So yeah, PPCs, I'm like you said, steadily getting nerfed.
Yes, they've been on the decline in comp for quite some time. You normally only see them on summoners and hunchbacks, and even then, through the previous MWOWCs, PPCs have just been getting heat nerfs, cooldown nerfs, and they've been more and more situational weapons. You still see them because pinpoint front-loaded damage is just so powerful, but at the same time, it's just not something that's in favor right now because of the steady stream of nerfs that PGI has been providing those direct-fire weapons. That still doesn't mean that they aren't powerful, though. They still have some effect, but that lack of DPS is demonstrated in the fact that that basically Pasha just got focused down and killed. The fight was too fast, and the fight developed too quickly for him to be able to use his PPCs in any meaningful fashion.
Yeah, and really, I think if Black Omen was able to spread out a little bit more, they kind of used those buildings as their staging area, and they kind of drew that group through it, but it almost worked against them in that they weren't able to keep up steady DPS. But I'm wondering if they got those ER larges to spread out a little bit more to keep that fire going, and if they didn't stage themselves in an area where once Empyreal arrived on the battlefield, that they were able to essentially put buildings between them and the other mechs. If it was a little bit more of an open field, perhaps. But it seemed like they were in a transition to try and get angles on Empyreal, and Empyreal made a great call when to push, especially seeing that Jay-Z was essentially out of position like that and sending that mech over there. You only really needed to send that one light over there to not only, at least if you don't dispatch Jay-Z, you're taking that DPS off the field with just a light, essentially.
Exactly, and the fact that now, this is probably going to be a controversial decision, but I honestly think that Black Omen should have cut their losses and just let Jay-Z go, because that light could have been much more influential in the light fight rather than wasting his DPS on a Piranha, which is not easy to shoot, especially in the hands of someone like Celt, who's a skilled light pilot and knows how to maneuver through the cracks and be able to roll damage by using a combination of speed and tricky movement from a light mech. So at the same time, it felt like that was a bit of a waste of DPS. I understand that Jay-Z is essentially a very high-skilled pilot, probably considered one of the better pilots on Black Omen, even though that's a stretch since they're all really, really good. The fact that they weren't able to let that Hellbringer go, and the fact that his 182 damage was essentially already got before Cell jumped on him, it just feels like a mistake, from my opinion, that they didn't just let him die, say, we gotta let you die, sorry, we need this light to focus on the light fight, we need his DPS if we want to win this.
I want to take one quick look at the stats here again. I feel like, wow, it might not have been. It looked to me like there was almost like a sacrificial strike laid on Lermgod in the middle of those towers there that I think ended up getting 2 quick kills. I don't know if it was the strike itself that got the kill, but there was a lot of things going on at the same time there. But two EMP players dropped almost simultaneously in the midst of those explosions, and I thought it might have been like a strike dropped on Black Omen by their own team, but at the same time I'm only seeing a maximum of 13 team damage coming out of Kondo, so I'm not sure where that strike came from, or if it just came down to just accurate fire by Black Omen to pick up those kills. But once again, making it close. When I see EMP running straight at you and getting a gank, I'm thinking Black Omen's done. There's no way they can pull this one back, but they started putting those kills on the board, brought it close yet again, and they just need to figure it out. They need to get the angles they need, and they need to fight on their terms. So far, I don't think they've fought on their terms even once.
And I think that's mainly because it goes to what Lizzie kind of says, and this might carry over to JGX, especially since in their history, JGX has always been a range team that uses large lasers to their greatest effect. They're not necessarily the best team to put in a brawl, and they're not necessarily the best team to counter brawl. Obviously, they're practicing it and they're working on it, and it's showing because these matches are super close, even though EMP's really trying to shove it in their face with everything they got. But at the same time, it's definitely showing that there are some flaws, a couple of weaknesses in how JGX is approaching these brawl drops, and now's the time to show that they can really make a difference. We're launching right now. We're going to see if Black Omen can kind of come back and regroup and make adjustments to any attempt from EMP to try and force the issue and bring the fight to them.
So what do you do now if you're Black Omen? It's the same map, you switch sides, so obviously you might not get to the circle first. I don't think that necessarily matters all that much, except for the fact that, you know, it can be a stalemate breaker. If you're down by a couple seconds, it could force action, but I don't think that's going to be an issue here. But what do you do if you're Black Omen? You've just seen what happens when they come at you with fast brawl. Empyreal, why would they do anything different? It worked well for them on that last match. Do you go brawl in answer?
Well, I wouldn't say going brawl and answer, because you always want to play to your strengths. I think what what Black Omen would want to do is that they might want to play a little bit more of a more balanced medium range deck. They might want to use some of the other heavier mechs like the Hellbringers, maybe put in a Night Guy or two if you're really going to try and bring the punch. Go all in on that strat if you really want to. But I think that the way it goes is that you kind of have to counter with a bit more mobile medium range packet, and already it seems like that Black Omen looked into my mind and saw what I was saying, because it looks like that's exactly what they brought. Daenerys Walker bringing in a medium pulse laser linebacker C. I love this pick, and I love seeing linebackers in action. These are great mechs. Dario 3 in the Urban Mech K9, tanky little beast. Daenerys Walker, medium pulse laser linebacker. Lerm God, medium pulse laser linebacker. So we're seeing a lot of mid-range with a kill squad of assassins protecting them. And meanwhile, on Empyreal side,
we got Magician and a Battle Master with 5ER large, so they're actually flipping it a little bit back in theirs, almost like they're anticipating what Black Omen's gonna do. They're bringing range themselves.
And not only that, but they have Reckless with a medium pulse laser Vulcan. Once again, bringing the Vulcans, using them to great effect, and I agree, it does seem to be a very strong mech. South bringing the Piranha 2, which is a little beast. Charlemagne bringing his Wolfhound. Still do not know why he loves that mech, but he loves it, so I won't give him any flack for it. And Ash bringing his customary Kintaro 18, 4 SRM6s, with Artemis, Rocket Launcher 10, 2 Flamers, so this is super interesting. Magician's going to have much of the rain trades on his back. He is going to be asked to do a lot with Vicious, since it's basically just going to be him and Vicious making the range trades. I'm going to check the Hellbringer just to make sure. Yes, here are large lasers. Stimrog
with the bolt-ons here. Not sure if that's the best, unless this is his purpose, is to put big flags on his back and say, hey, look at me, in that commando. Those things are almost as tall as his mech. That's a good thing they don't have hitboxes.
I mean, if there's any mech you want someone to shoot, it's the Commando, because it's surprisingly well armored, and it can dodge quite easily.
Looks like the push is on here. Black Omen giving chase to Bowser in that Ice Ferret, pushing up on this side, and he's kind of kiting him back into the rest of the team. But here we go, Jay-Z in that linebacker. They did linebackers themselves. Are they going to get up into range quick enough?
It looks like that's exactly what's happening, and it looks like they're making it happen. Charlemagne's in a terrible spot right now. He's going to be focused very quickly.
Oh, he gets legged immediately.
And that is not a good pick. Charlemagne was way out in the open. He had no cover. Terrible move by Charlemagne, unfortunately. And it looks like the rest of Black Omen's going to capitalize on this and keep rolling. Vicious, Reckless are kind of left out in the open once again. Ash is pulling back, trying to use whatever DPS he can to hold this fight.
They got to keep their momentum. Looks like Seleth in the backfield here, trying to just mix things up. And it looks like Gogil gets legs, so big pickup there by Seleth, and he's actually going to pull off. He's keeping 2 mechs occupied while the rest of them push up into the main body. Looks like Vexus in that Hellbringer, the next one being focused, he gets legged and brought down very quick. Definitely leg day here for Black Omen, and it looks like they're continuing the push into the rest of Imperial's mechs. Reckless in that Vulcan now. Wow! Goes from all right to dead very quickly. Bowser and the Ice Ferret running for his life as well, but just an amazing push by Black Omen here. This is going to be one hell of a flip back. Stimrog in that commando does get legged as well. Legs for days. Lerm got in that linebacker now, pulling away, leaving him for dead. They'll come back for him later. Magician at 92% in that Battle Master, getting mixed up on by Krasnopetsky in the Wolfhound, and he is going to be jumped very quickly here, just keeping him turned, giving his back to the enemy. There's nothing he can do when he's being swarmed, and Seleth doesn't look like he has any weapons anyways. He's not going to be of much use. Magician gets taken down, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. Black Omen, if they can fight on their terms, I'd be interested to see what they do. And right there, what a great example with an 8-1 decision in favor of Black Omen.
And you know, I don't want to give us too much credit, but it looks like we called it. You and I both said that the best way to counter this was to go and even out your speed tempo a little bit with some trading mechs that move a little faster. That's exactly what they did. Even though they mixed it up with a kill squad of assassins and wolfhounds, the wolfhounds essentially act as miniature linebackers, as they're able to shoot at slightly longer ranges, but the linebacker C's helped get it done. Even though they weren't the top damage mechs, the fact that they were able to bring range really helped. Actually, I bite my tongue. They might be. Lerm God leading the way, 312 damage. Daenerys not far behind with 258. Krasnopesky and Navid, however, did work in their Wolfhounds, 287, 258 respectively. Dogmeat 173, Gogol 82. He was mainly fighting light, so that's forgivable. Dario 247, and meanwhile Imperial damage numbers don't look good. Charlemagne pulling a double-digit bomb, mainly because of that terrible positioning on his part. I love him to death, but my God, that was inexcusable. It was just absolutely atrocious. He was right in the open, asking to get legged. There was no cover nearby, and he was way too in front of the main body without seeing the linebackers hidden among the hills. And he just basically got neutralized. And from there, the dominoes dropped, the dice rolled, and everything spiraled out of control for EMP.
You know, they knew Black Omen was coming. They did have some little canyons that they were able to duck down in, but there's no way they didn't know they were coming. But it actually seemed to work in their favor, though, because it gave them cover on the approach long enough to, I mean, obviously Charlemagne, he knew they were coming, but he didn't react, or maybe didn't realize how close they were, because he definitely got caught out, and that was an extremely valuable pickup. I was a little worried at the beginning of that, because it looked to me like Black Omen was making a little bit more of a roundabout push, obviously opting for a little bit more cover instead of going straight from the dish to main body. They didn't beeline straight for Magician's position. Of course, he is the highest range mech out of all of them, but maybe seeing that they were more of a blended deck, they didn't care about the ER larges nearly as much and wanted to just get into that main body. But taking a little bit of an arcing push into the EMP mechs and just start taking them out one at a time. And then there was split fights happening as well. That Commando over by the dish, he ended up getting legged and left for dead. Just good fights all around, even on the splits. And just good effort there by Black Omen to pick that one up. Of course, Imperial still up 2-1 on the series, but this could mean momentum going into drop 4.
Definitely. This is not something that Imperial want. Now they're on the back foot going into drop 4, and their lights have definitely been shown the chink in their armor. Krasnopesky showing what he could do by leading Navid and Blaketown, two amazing light pilots in their own right, to help carry the win to victory. And right now, chat, from what I'm reading, this is a 5-minute delay, obviously, but everyone's already predicting Emp to be the victor. They're going to be in for quite a surprise after the end of that drop. And I think that we're going to see that Black Omen have more surprises as the night rolls on.
Yeah, I mean, really, from what I've seen so far, yes, EMP picking up 2 wins early on, but it just never felt like Black Omen was in the driver's seat. Imperial making really good positioning and really forcing the fight on their terms. It was up to Black Omen if there's anything that they needed to change. I mean, their shooting's been great. Their mech selections, maybe not the best, at least in that first drop with the Spider, but you know, everything else seemed to be okay, especially because they were able to bring it as close as they were. But you take that one situation of none of our fights are on our terms, you find a way to fix that. I thought, no problem, Black Omen can start putting some wins on the board.
And Omen showing that they're able to put wins on the board now by adjusting their strategy. This is what you want to see top teams do. It's not always about trying to run this invincible strategy that's easy to stop. It's more about trying to find ways to adapt to your strengths, but at the same time also play around your opponent. That's exactly what they did with EMP. Even though EMP brought a bit more range this deck, I guess, to try and change it up and maybe counter something that resembled Black Omen's deck, it still didn't work out at the end. However, I will say that it is a bit of a statement that it came down a bit to players' skill. Charlemagne getting picked, unfortunately, very early, along with the rest of the team falling like dominoes. Because they were on their back foot and they were constantly retreating, mechs like Ashes, which require him to really get into the face of enemies, were essentially rendered ineffective. Reckless didn't have time much to maneuver around in his Vulcan, which is what it needs. And the same thing with Bowser. He wasn't really able to take advantage of the firing lanes that he could in order to get on top and walk away with a victory.
Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give away 1,000 MC here after drop 3. And of course, I'll give away another 1,000 MC after the end of the match. But let's go ahead and take a look. Who's going to be the lucky winner?
Can Saruman be the winner?
No, that's okay. If I don't let MC win MC, or MD win MC, then I can't let you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
that's just how we roll.
Sick burn. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, technically, I mean, MD isn't casting right now. If he was watching, he could potentially be eligible to win. Maybe, probably not. Rigged. And it looks like... Oh, look at that. I don't think he needs the MC, but Bear Claw with a 4. Did he always have a 4 in his name?
Yes, he did. There was always a
There
four in
was
his
always
name,
a 4 in his name.
And that is a rig. We should re-roll that. Bear Claw's won more 1v1 tournaments than most players in MWO. He probably has more MC than the entire new player base combined.
That is
re-roll
probably true.
that.
I'm sorry, I just can't. But maybe he will be a gentleman and offer the reroll himself, or maybe he'll just take the MC. I can't really blame him. I mean, MC, money, 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 money. Let's do it. Especially with new mechs on the horizon. Why not? But congratulations, Bear Claw. We'll figure out what to do with your code after the stream is done. I'll send you a whisper. And you can, of course, keep an eye on Chad. If he does decide to reroll, let me know.
I doubt he is. Bear Claw's going to be the smart man and take the MC and run.
Well, because he can give it away on his streams or something, too.
Very true. Advertise it on his own time. And you know what, Bear Claw, when he's not streaming, he gets a respectable 10 to 20 viewers. When he is streaming MWO, he could have as much as we have now, which we've reached triple digits. Hooray.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Of course, if you guys are just tuning in, we are watching Martial Olympiad Reborn 8v8 action on MWO Leagues. Make sure you guys follow the channel so you can get notified anytime. There's lots of different leagues that happen on this channel. It is definitely one you're going to want to tune in as we go through. And this, of course, is week 2 of MOR. A lot more action left to go. I think it's a 6-week league, right?
Yes, it is a sick league. However, some leagues, because there's more teams than others, probably have a couple more matches. I believe Div B might have an extra match or two, simply because those teams are really big. But and it's great that Div B, even though they have a lot of matches on their even though they have a lot of matches on the horizon, they're still taking the buys in order to get the extra points, which is what you want to see. And it's great to see Div B teams, even if they aren't exactly stacking up talent-wise, strategy-wise, they're taking the opportunity to learn from the best and play against the best, and it's very rare to see that in any competitive scene. I mean, you played Counter-Strike competitively, Bandit, from what you told me. I'm pretty sure that, like, C9 never offered to play you, unfortunately, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a very rare opportunity.
Yep. Of course, we will be going into Drop 4. If you weren't here at the very beginning, they did the map ban to decide what map Drop 4 and Drop 5 will be played on, and it was chosen to be River City. We're back onto Conquest now. Tonnage has raised up to 480, and so we should definitely see some big boys on the field there, and a little bit slower paced action than what we just experienced there on Polar Highlands. I can't wait to see what comes out of this.
I can't wait to see what comes out of this either, and honestly, River City is one of my favorite maps too, because of the fact that it's very well there. There's a lot of cover between both sides of the map, but at the same time, there's also the river divide that allows for more range trade, so there's a manifold of strategies you can use on this map. But even still, like, going forward with that, there's just a lot of... It's also a very even temperatured map. That's another thing. So it's just, there's a lot of ways to play the map. There's a lot of builds that can work on that map. It's a lot of fun. And I really am glad that NA's kind of risen up to the occasion to play this map more than Rubelite, because in my opinion, Rubelite definitely focused more on trade. So we see less strategies, less mech types being brought.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those maps where having the opportunity to play on both sides is going to be an advantage. I wouldn't necessarily call it an extremely asymmetrical map in terms of advantage. Each side has its strengths, and it comes down to how you play those strengths and really your team's play style. But having the opportunity to play both sides is going to really even things up. And considering we're only one drop away from, it's 2-1 decision right now, I could see this easily going into a 3-2.
I can too. I mean, it's definitely ways to be that way, but the question is, who's going to be the 3 and who's going to be the 2? You know, even though Empyreal's got more wins, those wins were not nearly as definitive as Drop 3 for Black Omen. Now, we've kind of seen this play out with Phoenix Legion versus Eon Synergy. Phoenix Legion got a very, very decisive 8-0 victory against Eon Synergy not a similar strategy EMP used against Black Omen. Sorry, I'm tripping up on my words. But, it's going to be interesting to see how kind of EMP adapts. They really have to keep their foot on the gas. They have to keep their foot pounded down on Black Omen's chest, and they have to be able to keep them on the ground. They cannot allow Black Omen to gain any momentum, because Black Omen's losses have been close, and their one victory so far has been extremely decisive. They have to take a page out of Eon Synergy and recognize, hey, we just have to man up, and we have to do better. We have to play better.
Let's take a look over at the map strat here at River City. What are some of the key positions on this map?
The key positions on this map I think we're going to see. Now, these are definitely older positions with the meta changing. There's definitely some different options, but obviously Starport here at Echo 7 is going to be a key position. Some teams from Team 2 like to trade from this Echo 5 upper city right here. Some teams also like to trade lower Golf 5 from this area. There used to be some times where Team 1 would try and get some lights over at Golf 6 to patrol the high territory on these towers and overlook Theta, but I'm not sure how much we're going to see that, since the high-level jet mechs like the Arctic Cheetah have kind of fallen out of favor. But what we could also see, not sure we are going to see it, but generally this is something that's been a little janky Team 1's ran. They like to try and pull their brawl mechs to the back, push around Hotel 6, and cut up into the city to do maximum damage to any trading mechs that are kind of sitting in these Fox 5, Echo 5 coordinates right there. And like I said, I don't think we're going to see it. Like, currently Team 1 is Empyreal, and while they can brawl, they don't prefer to brawl, because there's a lot of variables that brawling removes in concerning skill levels, and it kind of adds a bit of randomization to the battle that EMP wouldn't want to add. I think that they might want to trade up to Starport, but even still, I don't think that we're going to see any brawl from Black Omen's side. I think they might set up Echo 5, Golf 5 on the lines of the city and just try and trade long, and maybe try and send the fastest light mech they can to Theta in order to contest it.
Yeah, typically what I've seen the most out of this, if they do set up into trade positions, just trading back and forth into each other, you see a lot of light play. Obviously, the initial grab over Theta is huge. It seems like Team 1 able to get that early cap into Theta, just nice straight shot, able to get the early one on there. But then the counter that we usually see some sort of movement after the Sigma pickup is Kappa region. It's not really defendable by any of the range mechs. Anybody sitting up near Gamma there in Echo 7, they can't help at all. So anything that does push over to Kappa, a lot of times ends up into like a 3v3 light battle. Then it comes down to who has the better light pilots if they want to do that. But it's such a huge risk, because if it goes sour for you, the entire match, no matter what your ranged mechs are doing, could fall apart if you lose your lights early.
And while I do feel that Empyreal might still have a bit of an advantage, mainly because their entire light lance is here, you have Charlemagne, you have Stimrog, and you have Celt. Those are three amazing light pilots. We've seen what they can do against Eon Synergy, who also has amazing light pilots. Not taking anything away from Navid, not taking anything away from Krasnopetsky or Dario. All three of them are very good light pilots, but it definitely feels like that they're fighting a bit of an uphill battle. Empyreal's lights have definitely proved more, especially Charlemagne and Stimrog, both being champions in 1v1 tournaments. But it looks like that Black Omen is ready, going to check in with Empyreal now. And we might be getting this match started.
Excellent. Can't wait to see what happens with this. Of course, Black Omen trying to build some momentum here, down 1-2 on the series. This is going to be a big one for them. Obviously, they pretty much, if they want to win the series, they're going to need to come away with a win here. But of course, this is a league, so even if they do lose this, you know, these wins go towards the leaderboard. They can come back with a very convincing second half of the league. Every win counts. They can't, even if they do fall here, they need to push hard for that drop 5.
And we're going to see Empyreal maybe not bring out all the stops because of what you said. Empyreal is a team that definitely likes to plan a lot of strategies. They like to have a manifold of strategies, and they like to kind of save the best for last. I think even now, we're seeing Empyreal at, I would say, 99.5%. Not necessarily the full 100, because they definitely want to save some tricks for that latter half of the league, as you suggested. But even still, they are bringing everything they can to the table skill-wise, no doubt about that.
All right, let's take a look at the mechs here. We're seeing Empyreal bringing in some heavy dropship Battlemasters coming in near Gamma side here. Looks like they're going to get some ranged mechs up on top of that Gamma region. The center drop, a Hellbringer, and then 4 mechs down below. Piranha, Flea, Ice Ferret, and a Mad Cat Mark II. That Flea, of course, looks like he's making that initial run for Theta. He'll be able to get there relatively quick. What do you see over on the Black Omen side?
Just a quick note, it seems like everybody brought lasers except Zyos is bringing Daka, which is going to be incredibly interesting. Zyos does what Zyos wills. What we're seeing from Black Omen is that the Mislinks G brought by Kaz Napreski is the machine gun heavy small laser variant. Dario also following suit with the Piranha 3, mixing it up with lasers and machine gun, mixing it up with all lasers. I'm sorry, he is the Piranha 3, which means all lasers, no machine guns. My mistake. Ringwraith bringing UAC 2s, the Proton Special, the Dragon. Pasha bringing Gauss Laser Vomit, traditional in this team. Jay-Z bringing the Blood Asp with a load of Ultra 5s and 6 micro lasers and 1 Ultra AC-10. I don't think I've seen that build anywhere. That's going to be interesting. Lermgod just bringing UAC 5s and 10s. Bandit, you might be able to answer this for me. Why micro lasers?
I don't think I'm going to be able to answer that. I have no idea. I mean...
Oh my goodness, though, but...
Is it to raise something up on the shoulders?
I'm not sure. Maybe it is, but even still, Jay-Z just got mollywopped right now. 75% by the range trades from Empyreal. Those were great shots, and already Jay-Z is on the back foot because his center torso is almost open along with his side torsos.
All right, but Black Omen not wanting to trade from Upper City for very long. They are doing a hard push across river here. They want to get into Gamma. Of course, Empyreal seeing that coming, they are rotating out. And of course, some shots coming in from the Citadel. Looks like they got that Ice Ferret up there, landing some shots as they cross, but they're gaining some ground on Empyreal in terms of distance here, but they really paid for it with armor.
You have an amazing point there. Kondo's down 71, Dario 74, Jay-Z 73. While the percentages on Kondo and Dario are a little bit deceptive, the damage is much more spread out, with Kondo basically just losing an arm that I don't think... Actually, no, that arm was very important. Never mind. I take back what I said. Kondo is in serious trouble. He lost half his guns. So, yeah, this is actually as bad as it looks right now.
Well, Empyreal needs to be careful, because the more they turn to shoot, the closer these Black Omen mechs are going to get. And once they close into the range that they want to be in, it's going to be one hell of a fight here. But if Empyreal can keep 1 or 2 mechs continuously putting DPS down on Black Omen mechs as they approach, it's going to add up, and it's going to be tough for Black Omen to seal the deal. But really, when they do decide to ultimately do this push, if they decide to do this push, they need to do it together. But they might be slowing down and trying to trade now. Lermgod peeking up and paying for it, getting shredded down to 72. And some strikes coming in as well. Lots of hurt mechs here from Black Omen now. Jay-Z taking another big hit. And Empyreal essentially setting up in that lower city and able to use cover. Anytime they try to return fire, it's going right into a building.
And it's worth noting, though, that despite all these trades, Empyreal has been dominating the gap game, 300 points to 160. So Black Omen, I apologize, either needs to kill them quickly or start fanning out for caps. And right now it looks like that Empyreal lost some mech. Zyos, the sacrificial lamb to the light lance that just got pursued. Charlemagne's a little isolated from his team as well. He needs to be very careful.
Big strikes on Selith. He was in the Piranha, getting up behind Ringwraith. And a strike and a lot of fire into Selith, taking him down to 50% and made him jump off. Pasha now is setting up, getting some fire across long range. Selith's still a threat, but he definitely paid for that peak. A lot of hurt mechs here on the Empyreal team, and Black Omen preserving pretty well. I'm surprised Jay-Z hasn't fallen, even picking up a kill. Jay-Z moving into the backfield, still has weapons, still a threat, but still putting fire downfield.
And I really don't like the formation of these light mechs. There's no coordination between Selth and Charlemagne, and it's showing in spades. Charlemagne and Selth are poking on 2 different mechs, and while it worked in drop 2, it seems like Black Omen kind of prepared for this movement. This is not what you want to see from
Selith goes down. Krasnopesky in that mislinks, coming up there to help Pasha out and getting a big key kill there. 4 mechs remaining for Empyreal. Even though they have the cap and ticket lead, they're starting to hemorrhage mechs. Only Lermgod dead for Black Omen. Empyreal needs to start putting mechs down quickly here.
While Lermgod is the only one dead, basically this is going to come down to Charlemagne. I feel like Charlemagne, Bowser, the more mobile elements, because all these mechs are super weak. This is where these quicker mechs are supposed to shine.
Oh, Navid trying to get in there to get some finish with those machine guns and paid for it with his leg with a well-placed shot. He gets taken out quickly, but the advantage of having so many mechs on the field is you can start to surround your opponent, and Reckless now getting shot from multiple angles, gets shredded down. Charlemagne the next on the menu, and Bowser in the Ice Ferret all the way across the field. Black Omen doing very well. 4 cap, though, 500 tickets. Bowser's going to do everything he can to keep those caps from flipping back, but they need to spread out quickly.
And it's worth noting that during that entire fight, the most important fact, the lights stayed together. There was true coordination. I do not like Charlemagne and Cell's maneuvers. The fact that they split apart was damning, and they weren't able to get any picks or finish off any mechs because of it. Meanwhile, Krasnopetsky and Dario were, and now we're seeing Bowser just trying to hold off in his Ice Ferret, but it looks like that this match may be a foregone conclusion. Black Omen's fanning to spread caps. All that's left is Epsilon. It's Bowser versus the world.
Yeah, he's going to try and hold it off as long as he can, but with only 1 cap in his name, 4 cap will be able to win this for Black Omen, and they got mechs chasing Bowser down now. He's going to try and get a little bit extra, but it's going to be one hell of a fight, especially with those PPCs not really meant to fight at this range.
And right now it looks like Ringwraith and Dario are out for blood. Both of them are super close. Bowser trying to get some shots down on Dario, but Ringwraith is waiting in the wings, and that Dragon 5N is a DPS monster. But as I say that, I forget that apparently Ringwraith has no guns because he's not shooting.
But he's getting a cap, which is important. So just sealing the deal, like you said, foregone conclusion. But well played, Black Omen. I mean, it was looking a little rough there. They were hemorrhaging a lot of armor on the maneuver. But ultimately, getting the opportunity to just come together and start putting those shots down when they needed it most. And Selith trying to do his typical backstab, and they did a good job. Ringwraith and Pasha up there able to hold him off and just draw things out until getting a light mech up there to help him out. That was not an easy gank, like you said. They split up, and Selith was not able to get any big damage into the backfield. And then just a complete flip from like drop 1. Jay-Z doing a great job protecting me. He's still alive after taking so much damage on the initial push. Still had weapons left. Look at how hurt these mechs are, though. That was a bloody push, but they filtered out really well.
There's not a single mech on Black Omen that is over 60%. And look at the damage numbers on some of these mechs. Lermgod and the Basakura A doing amazing work. 781 damage, runaway MVP for this Black Omen team. Dario, however, Krasnopetsky, and Navid, they didn't do a lot of damage, but it's evident in the kills. 5 of Black Omen's 8 kills were from the Light Lance. Meanwhile, Pasha, Kondo, and Jay-Z were also carrying the fight. Jay-Z's damage was low because he was focused. Meanwhile, look at Empyreal's lights. Charlemagne, 213 damage. Self, to 139. That's not what you want to see from your Light Lance.
Yeah, even though Bowser pulling 543 damage in that Ice Ferret, it seemed like Empyreal was just kind of planning for the long-range attack here, bringing that Ice Ferret, expecting a lot of drawn-out trades, I would think. But just the powerhouse Light Lance there for Black Omen really turning the tide of that entire battle.
And it's also shown in the fact that Zios was a little caught out in his Sun Spider. I'm not sure if he was supposed to buy time or if he was just supposed to be a sacrificial lamb. I'm not sure what his role was, but it's pretty evident that it did not work because in the end, CSJ just kind of rolled over him and kept the roll moving. Now, however, at the same time, EMP in the beginning, their trades were spot on point. It was definitely a match that was clearly in EMP's favor. And even though Light Lance from Charlemagne and Celt were definitely getting some necessary flanks in order to turn some heads. However, in the end of the day, it's not the early game that matters, it's the winning that matters, and EMP was not able to seal the deal. Props to Black Omen. They rotated their mechs out brilliantly. As we said, not a single mech over 60% percentages. The average percentage point, I would say, for that team was probably around 40%. And as a result, they're bringing this back. It's 2-2.
And I love it because you know me, and I love 3-2 decisions, and we're going to get one here tonight, and that is awesome. 2 in a row, baby. 2 3-2 decisions for casts for me in a row. I just hope people aren't even going to want me to cast them anymore if it keeps turning into this. Just saying. But that's or maybe they will. Maybe I should start doing some like really offset matches where there's a high skill team versus, I don't know. But anyways, just where I felt like it might have started turning there. Obviously, getting a big gank on that Sun Spider is awesome for them. But when Empyreal started turning around and shooting into their opponent, once they've gained that superior position up on the high ground there, instead of just continuing to kite away and just continuing to shred their armor down while kiting, because they clearly wanted to close the gap, if they had a couple guys up there continuing to put damage down while they were kiting, they might have been able to draw this the other way. Now, they started turning and shooting back into them, and of course into a superior position. They did have a lot of buildings to trade from down there, but seems like didn't take long for Black Omen to start getting into their trading positions at the top and start using them effectively, and use the cover really well. So they transitioned from a hard push team to a trade team almost instantly, and did it effectively. And then I think that Sun Spider might have been one of the mechs that was putting a lot of damage down, just almost like he was the center axle of the wheel. Once they took him down, that DPS coming from that central position stopped, and they almost had to turn and face him. Is my Discord doing it again? Hold on 1 second. Yep, 1 second. Man, I don't know why it's doing that. Go ahead, Saruman.
This is Saruman speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's fine now.
All right, excellent. I'm back, because you can't silence the true White Wizard.
Totally doing this on purpose, by the way. I'm totally... I'm bringing you down, man. I'm bringing you down.
Oh, you Gandalf apologist. Why would you do this to me? That's not cool. But yeah, like, I agree 110% with what you were saying. When EMP kind of just planted their feet and started trading to take advantage of the percentages, it felt like it made sense because they were up on the percentage battle, but they still did it in a place that allowed Black Omen to really rotate their mechs in and out. They basically did it in the city side area. Now, obviously, they didn't want to forfeit control of the 2 caps, but even still, I think it would have been worth it to keep the rotation moving, because of the fact that planting their feet allowed Black Omen to set up in a place where essentially there was a lot of cover and there were a lot of ways to switch in and out of the fight. And it's unfortunate to say, but EMP showed all the markings of a winning team at the beginning of that game, but in the end they just couldn't finish it. That was unfortunately a down and out choke.
Yeah, and it really just, you got to give a lot of props to those lights. They did a lot of work. They stayed together. They wolf-packed really well, and they got a lot of ganks where they needed it the most. And then ultimately, once they started pushing them back and getting EMP back on their heels, they had a great surrounding action. Once they were up on mechs, they weren't necessarily up on overall armor left on the field, but they were up on mechs, and they used it effectively by really surrounding Empyreal, taking away any ability for them to use cover effectively, and just getting some great shots where it mattered most. Risked the lives of a few mechs just trying to get in there and get the final punch, but it didn't matter at that point. They still had a lot of guns on the field able to finish the job, and then just essentially leaving that Ice Ferret for last. I mean, the cap game is, of course, important, but how important is the cap game when you're up against a hard-pushing team? That fight was over way too quick for caps to matter.
And it's interesting, too, because the cap game was actually super close, and it could have really swung into Empyreal's favor if they just held on. They should have... That's another reason why they shouldn't have planted their feet. They should have realized that they had the cap advantage and that they needed to draw out the fight as much as possible. They had a 4-cap lead at one point. Because Black Omen was deathballing their lights, they really weren't in a position to cap. And it showed in the fact that they were down caps very heavily, but even still, Empyreal planted their feet and thought that they could continue winning their trades, and I can't blame them for that decision. They were winning the percentage battle, so from 2020 hindsight, we can say that it was a bad decision, but even still, with the information they had and the way they played it, it just feels like that it's a very hard call to make, and that's the burden of being in someone like Selth's position.
Yeah, I mean, if they were able to draw Black Omen down off that starport area, then maybe Bowser in that Ice Ferret could have continued over to cap Gamma behind them as well, but he couldn't make that maneuver. He capped everything near him. There was nowhere else for him to go. He transitions then into a just stop them from capping situation, but being the lone capping mech, he can only hold 1 point off. He needed more time, and like we'd said, planting their feet where they did and when they did, maybe if it was just a little bit later, maybe if it was a little bit closer to Kappa, maybe it could have been different, but maybe it could have been different if Selith was able to get a gank up near Gamma. But just great gameplay all around by Black Omen, drawing this into a 2-2. We're all tied up, ladies and gentlemen. We're still on River City, on Conquest. We've switched sides now. We're gonna have to see what Empyreal is gonna do to stop this momentum that Black Omen's picked up if they want to win this.
Well, the biggest thing that Black Omen is going to have to worry about is that they're a range trading team, so I would guesstimate that they're going to trade from Echo 7 starport area and not want to rotate off it as to what Empyreal did. They might want to hold it, and Empyreal might want to find a way to just dislodge them similar to Black Omen did. It's definitely, it seems like the focus will be over Starport, but Starport, but I would definitely be much more interested to see if there's going to be any maneuvers happening in the Hotel 7 area. It definitely feels like that Selth needs to roll up his sleeves a little bit and come in with kind of a fake left hook leading into a right hook, so to say, in order to catch Black Omen off guard.
Yeah, so far we've been seeing Empyreal Lights kind of operating independently a lot lately. Like, they're all just kind of doing their own thing, and they were initially getting some key plays. Black Omen adapting really well, protecting those mechs that are getting jumped by Selith and any of the other lights. Maybe it's time for Empyreal to switch it up and actually start wolf packing, keep their lights together, get Charlemagne in there with Selith, and just get them killing things together. And that could switch that the other way.
Definitely. I feel like that now Selith and Charlemagne need to realize that they have to work together if they want to get stuff done. Obviously, the Empyreal Lights like that they could get more done separately because they might be attacking separate positions. But overall, it definitely feels like that more coordination is going to be needed for the team as a whole. Sure, we could say that the Lights may need more coordination, but as a whole, Empyreal is going to need to kind of lift themselves up by their bootstraps, and they're going to need to A, establish better firing lines, B, move as a unit, C, truly focus fire mechs down. Even if they try and rotate out, you have to keep eyes on that position, and you can't lose mechs. And D, obviously, obey the calls. I'm not sure if planting your feet was a call, but if the general strategy is capping, which it seemed like it was, you gotta stay to your strat.
Absolutely. I mean, I could see why they planted their feet. They did deal quite a bit of damage on those approaching mechs, but Black Omen just did a really good job transitioning themselves into trade mode and did it like they didn't overstep. I thought I was going to see a Black Omen mech like typically Jay-Z. He's been like the lead mech every single time. I thought he was just going to come barreling over the side and just get shredded down once Empyreal planted. But once they clearly were turning and fighting back, every single Black Omen mech just changed their purpose instantly and got into trade mode, did not allow themselves to take a terrible amount of damage, and were able to put out the damage themselves. It was perfectly executed, in my opinion.
It's also worth noting that looking at this kill feed right now, Black Omen is on top of Empyreal in kills, mainly because Black Omen's losses matter. This is where kills count. Even if Empyreal wins, they might win 3 drops, but I don't see a way in which they're going to come out on top for points. They'd have to have 10 kills, and as we know, that's impossible in an 8v8 setup. So I do think that in the end, Black Omen is going to win this round, but Empyreal is definitely not going to be far behind on points if they can come out on top with a 3-2 decision in their favor.
Absolutely. Both teams in lobby getting set up here. Looks like they're rearranging their lances, and they should be readying up shortly. Can't wait to bring you guys this drop 4 or drop 5. Of course, it's drop 5. This is where it all matters, though, and this is going to be an extremely exciting drop. What do you think they need to do to change this up? I mean, now Black Omen's got the typically superior trading side. Are we going to see aggression from Empyreal? Or are we going to see both teams start duking it out at range? Would you really see Black Omen push across the river going the opposite direction?
No, Black Omen has no need to surrender their side now that they have Starport. It's always been traditionally the strong rating side. I think the onus is on Empyreal to either try and push through Hotel 7, throw a wide berth through Kappa, mix up what they did with Black Omen, maybe even try and push through the river and get through Fox 7. Either way, they need to try and dislodge Starport because it's an incredibly strong trading position, or they could all try and stack up Echo 5. I generally don't see a lot of success with teams that purely stack up range on Echo 5 because there's not a lot of ways you can cover light mechs that are trying to cap Kappa, Gamma, and Theta from that position. The trade lanes are very weak from Echo 5 going into Theta, in my opinion, but Empyreal may find that they're strong, so we'll see what happens. And this is the final match, and we're launching.
Yep, looks like both teams readied up. This is exciting. I love this. This is some excellent MechWarrior Online competitive action. Obviously, if you guys are just tuning in and you don't know anything about competitive MechWarrior Online, get yourself a team. Go sign up. It's awesome. This is truly the end game of MechWarrior Online. Screw that FP stuff. I don't even care about that. This is what MechWarrior Online is all about. Get on a team, get trained up, start working your way through the ranks, and maybe we'll see you guys in the World Championship someday. Discord. We're switching to TeamSpeak, Saruman. Not right now, but we will be switching to TeamSpeak because I am over you, Discord. I love Discord, but I don't know what is happening with that I have to keep leaving and joining the call to get it working. But I am over it.
I have a perfectly good TeamSpeak, still sponsored by Dropship 5 and everyone's favorite Asian, Matt3049, if you're interested.
Well, we'll have to remember that for next time. But for right now, every time you stop talking, then we'll know it's abnormal, and I'll have to fix it mid-match.
Okay, going into mech selections, Gernog bringing an Ultra AC2 and 5 UAC 2 Night Gear B, and going over to the wrong team, Learn God bringing UAC 5, 8 UAC 10s, Pasha bringing 6 AC2, so it looks like we're seeing the same kind of situation with Black Omen. They're going for the DACA again, and with DACA obviously means that you have a lot of different ways to approach, whether you want to push or whether you want to sit at range. And now Empyreal, looking at their builds, it looks like they definitely brought some PPCs and a combination of DACA, Reckless in the Mad Cat Mark II-B filled with UAC 5s and UAC 10s, and Imminent bringing the Pop Sniping Summoner, everyone's favorite. Once again, Charlemagne bringing the Flea, risky pick. Vicious assisting the Light Lance with machine guns and small lasers. Self doing the same thing with his Mistlinks. Imminent, actually, I'm sorry, brought 2 UAC 10s on his summoner. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. This is a full DACA deck, so it's DACA against DACA, and we're going to see how this plays out.
Man, those 6 AC2s, that's just, it shreds so much. It is hot as hell, though, but that mech shreds hard. Looks like Black Omen kind of expecting the counter push. They wanted to put a lot of DPS in these mechs, and that counter push just gets stalled out immediately if there was one, but looks like Empyreal kind of setting up for trades right now. Look at the damage coming in here right off the bat. Reckless down to 83%. You step out, you silhouette, and that's a lot of rounds into your face. But there's the wolf pack for Empyreal. 3 mechs moving in on JZ yet again. Getting caught out, 79%. Getting jumped, lots of machine guns coming in. Looks like they got him legged, and he'll be shredded down very quickly. Big mistake by JZ, and they took advantage of that right off the bat.
This is exactly what you want to see from Empyreal's Light Lance. This is what needed to happen, and now the machine guns are coming in, and the best part is that Black Omen's lights can't even respond because of the AC cover coming from their team on the other side of the river.
They were able to use that to their advantage to get Black Omen's heads down, allow them to cross the river without taking a lot of damage, but those initial peaks definitely dealt some damage. We'll have to see how much that adds up as they get up to the same level as Empyreal. Or as Black Omen.
Reckless getting a key kill on Lermgod, finishing that. Another thing that we didn't see last match. Imperial's finishing the mechs they wound and kill.
Killing Pasha would be big.
Damage.
He's got a lot of DPS and he goes down. That was a big pickup there for Empyreal. And looks like the Wolfpack yet again going together up against Krasnopesky. Gets an easy takedown, switching over to Gogil. there's the wolf pack that we needed to see from Empyreal, and they are using it effectively right now. Selith down there against Dario, but Charlemagne coming down to help him as well. They should be able to pick him up.
And something that we're also seeing, Imminent's coordination with the light mechs. He is using the summoner's mobility to his highest advantage in order to make sure that things die. Navid's the last mech alive, and this is what I love to see. My boy Charlemagne tearing people up. It feels like it's been a while since he hasn't been performing that well, but him and Self are making it up in spades. When the lights event work together, they're like a wrecking ball, an unstoppable force.
And there is that big push by Empyreal. Good coordination, good focus fire. And you kind of expected to see that this entire time, but they brought it back in drop 5 to secure the 3-2 decision. Wow, what a fight. That was very decisive right there. 8-1 to bring that one to a 3-2.
And that's what we needed to see from Empyreal. They needed this win in order to bring the game back. However, it doesn't look like that Black Omen is going to be defeated today. Going by points, even though they're down 2 drops, Black Omen really made their kills count. Empyreal, less kills, less points. Black Omen may in fact be the victor of this drop, technically, because they have the greater amount of points on their side.
Wow, what a match. Definitely close, but then coming down to just some really good pushes there at the end. Black Omen just had nothing against him. But it all starts with Jay-Z getting caught down in the water. I don't know what he was doing down there. I don't know if they expected this to be a long fight, but even if it was a trade war, what was the point of having him down in the water? He wasn't able to do anything. The Wolfpack jumping on him, taking him out with ease, especially with the cover over the top. Just a lot of fire coming in. And then just compared to the drop we just saw prior, not a lot of damage going out during the cross. Yes, they had some initial trade damage in favor of Black Omen, and that was fantastic. It was looking really good. But then during the cross, all of them had their heads pinned down. They stayed down. They didn't get any extra damage. They were all caught out at Starport. They didn't do any sort of rotation out, and they didn't have anybody in the Axle getting any constant fire during the rotation, which partially could have been because of that light pack in the middle near Theta, not allowing anybody to just sit there and just wail on them. And it just a very that's a clean way to push over to Starport if I've ever seen one.
And you know what? Once again, the coordination from the lights was absolutely astounding on Empyreal's side. It's something that we missed in the last couple of matches, and it's something that they managed to successfully gain back. And it was just something that was necessary. This was a key win for Empyreal in order to make sure that they didn't lose too much of a standing. However, Black Omen right now seems to be in the driver's seat. And it looks like that the teams are going to want to get an interview. So let's jump over to the MWO Comp Discord to show them that we're ready and raring to go.
All right. Awesome. It's been a while since I've done a player interview. This is exciting.
Well, definitely no shortage of questions, that's for sure. We have Bowser with us. Thank you for joining us, Bowser. We'll just wait on someone from Black Omen to show up.
Thank you for having me.
My
cat is harassing me. What do you want? All game.
I was hearing the purring in the background too. I was trying to just man up and soldier on, talking through it, but it just kind of was like I didn't
a little
know
distracting,
how to respond.
huh?
Exactly.
Oh man.
Just pinging Krasnopesky for an interview opportunity, seeing what he and Black Omen thinks. They obviously have the opportunity to decline the interview if they wish, but Krasnopesky says they're good for it and they should be sending someone over shortly.
Cool. Well, while we're waiting, why don't you start with Bowser?
I believe you have better questions than I do, Bandit. Lead away, sir.
All right. Well, Bowser, great push at the end there. That was very decisive, and I think you guys really put together a good push there. Was that kind of just in response to what happened in Drop 4, or is that really playing off the strengths of the map?
I would say it's playing off the strengths of the map, really. Like, ever since, like, MRBC Season 10, I want to say, even the last season of, what was it, BFM, I think it was at that point in time. River City, like, DACA pushes were always strong, so we were just like, why are we just EL edging, just DACA push, like...
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like there was a little bit of a stall out at the beginning. Was that just kind of gathering everyone up so you can cross at the same time? Were you just kind of waiting for that opportunity to cross? Getting, obviously, the gank on Jay-Z was huge and a definite green light for you guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say it was a combination of just getting everyone ready to go and just quickly, of course, and then just kind of scouting out, seeing what they were doing. Just, of course, this is really quick. I mean, this was in the span of like a minute or something, I want to say, so.
Yeah. Drop 4 then, obviously the one that you guys lost, you were in that ice fair, you were playing the long game on capping. How were the comms with that? Was there a call made to turn and fight, or were you guys trying to draw the match out longer?
We were trying to draw the match out at a point in which we realized, okay, they were in us, and we had a light scouted out, and we had cap advantage. We're like, okay, just draw it out. And I would say it almost worked for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Saruman, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just about to comment. Yes, it did seem like it was going to work since you guys were up on caps, and it definitely felt like planting your feet was a little bit of a mistake. However, Krasnopesky has now joined us. Krasnopesky, thank you for the interview.
Jesus, you're loud, Saruman. Turning you right down.
Sorry about that. I have a naturally loud voice. I apologize. Bandit, since I'm a bit too loud, maybe you can field the questions.
No, I mean, feel free. I've got him turned down to 30%, if that helps anybody understand.
Good.
Excellent. Bandit, any questions from you, though?
Yeah, well, I mean, Krasnopesky, I mean, good job bringing that to very exciting, at least into drop 4, bringing it to that 2-2. Well played on that. I mean, it was a pretty rough start. What did you guys do, I guess, to start talking through it, to start turning that around after 2 quick losses?
Well, I mean, we did lose comprehensively, but it was actually a bit quicker than it was a bit closer than it seemed. If we had played that a little bit differently, I think it would have been a bit different. But definitely got rolled. I wasn't in the second drop. We got rolled in that one, and then the third drop deck, which was just like a pushing sort of medium pulse deck, is just really strong. Like, that's really strong on Polar. The 3 linebackers, mixed in with some Wolfhounds and things, that's a really strong deck. It's hard to beat that one. And then on that side, as EMP just did to us then, that the DACA push is pretty good on River City. So, and even like in drop 5, we predicted they do the DACA push too, but it just didn't quite work out to us. Jay-Z got caught out by himself with the Stalker and got wrecked, and then we sort of fell apart a little bit.
Yeah, you guys seem to plant your feet a lot sooner than Empyreal did in drop 4. I feel like cap game wasn't really on your mind on that one. You wanted to punish them on the push, right?
Oh, we were going to push them as well. It was just basically 2 push decks just smashing into each other. There wasn't too much strategy to it.
Gotcha. Was it just a miscommunication with Jay-Z, with him being down in the water like that?
I'm not sure. I was running around with the light. I was a bit far away, but the first thing I sort of noticed on the map was that there was one dot very far away from the others. So I'm not sure exactly why that occurred, why he was so far ahead. But it is what it is, We're the very nature of our team is a sort of a new conglomerate of players, so we haven't quite meshed as a team yet. A lot of skill on the team, but not a lot of play time together.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely have a very talented roster, and I could see that. I mean, even as we had talked about in the World Championship with Empyreal going through the semifinals and stuff like that, newer roster, they all had to get used to each other, and then the more they played, the better they got, and then of course making it back into the World Championship. You guys are probably going through the same thing right now, where a lot of great talent, but you guys aren't used to playing with each other yet.
Yeah, and there's a bit of between all the different people, there's a bit of a difference in the mentality of what's good and what's bad, of course. So some people, think certain things are really good and like strategies like this work really well. Others disagree. So it's a bit of, I think we had for we had at least 6 different drop decks that individual people had made for these set of drops, like throughout the week, that none of us had actually played. We didn't really scrim for this, and then we eventually sort of mishmashed one together, and we were making like. We were sort of making half of the drop decks as we went. We were modifying them after each drop, even. But it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, adaptation obviously is extremely important, especially best laid plans fall apart after the first shot is fired a lot of times. So being able to, I've gotten caught by that in the past personally, where we've come up with a drop deck and we're always like stick to the plan. And it's like, if it's not working, maybe we should come up with a change on the fly. So being able to adapt quickly is certainly an asset. Saruman, you have anything to ask?
I actually do. Thank you very much, Bandit. Kraz, what was your plan for the Phoenix Hawks on drop 1?
The plan was to gank one of their lights getting theta, but basically too many of them engaged, and as you noticed, they couldn't see us up there. Like, we're invisible.
That was
there.
Insane. Is that like they just never looked up, or how the heck?
No, we had stealth armor. We had stealth armor and black paint, and you can't actually see unless you're really looking. You can't see it.
That
like,
was
it's impossible to see it.
I would like to quickly.
Apologies.
I'd like to quickly interject and say that we knew you guys were there for a while. I would say not the whole time, but a while. We didn't turn around because we were in a crossfire between the Phoenix Hawks and the assaults.
We were Bowser. We were watching. your mech's cap theta from above.
If you go back and watch it on the stream, I was showing it. There was 2 Phoenix Hawks
crows and the crabs
over theta. Like,
oh really? Okay.
No, I'm not talking about us shooting behind. Yeah, we were.
I even asked them, like, did they shut down or something? I can't believe it. How they get that scene? It was insane.
No.
But
we decided not to engage because, well, frankly, those like the 2 storm crows and the crab would have wrecked us.
Yeah, they outgunned you for sure.
Yeah, so we wanted to wait for a bit, and then we did have a bit of a stab at the crab once the storm crows had gone, but it wasn't a real. It wasn't really successful burns. He sort of walked away, and then we did some good shooting in the back. But yeah, that's a funny spot up there. You really like your black paint and stealth armor. You literally can't even in what do you call it? Even in like heat vision or night vision, it's still like unless you're actually looking there, like which you would have no purpose to do that, you can't see them.
Cat's out of the bag now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure anybody that's watching right now is.
Well, we've done it now, so it doesn't matter. It's over. It's finished.
Well, too bad it didn't turn out in a win for you guys on that one though. But it was definitely an interesting, unique thing, and I was even saying during the cast, it's like it seemed to me like Black Omen you had plans and they just weren't. EMP was not letting you guys play the way you wanted to play. They were bringing it to the way they wanted it, and you had to keep going to them. You had to fight on their terms, and they kept punishing you for it. But somehow in drop 3, you guys turned that right around.
No, the drop 3 and 4 was definitely our terms, 100%. They brought a trading deck for River, and we just pushed them, and they had to try and retreat, and it just didn't work because it's hard on River. And then, in drop 3, we just took strong mechs and just pushed them. And they had to try and run away, but again, wasn't successful. Yeah. But yeah, as I said, I wasn't in drop 2, so I didn't watch the stream. I was busy building the drop decks for River City while drop 2 was going on. So I missed that one. But it looked like, I'd say, did you do the same thing, Bowser? Did you just push us?
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally what we did. We just walked over the middle.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
it's a funny one, Polar. It's a funny one because you got to sort of. Sometimes you feel like you want a bit of Overwatch, but then it's like it's this weird game, right? If you bring half Overwatch, half Brawl, and they bring all Overwatch long range, then
you're screwed. Yeah.
Then you get a bit fucked. If they bring full push, then it can fuck you up. But it's like a funny game that you got to play. But sometimes a few long range is good to force the enemy to have a bad push at the same instance. So it's a funny sort of drop deck sort of thing going on there.
Yeah, Crass, if I have any advice for you, it's to get Jay-Z to stop getting ganked, though. Because in drop 2, yet again, I mean, he had Selith make an excellent maneuver, get up behind him in that Piranha, and just shred the crap out of him, which really set the tone for that push early on. And, of course, Empyreal then able to just slam through and systematically take out your range mechs. You guys, they never had the opportunity to spread out. They never had an opportunity to really draw the fight out. Everybody was kind of in a nice little ball, except for Jay-Z, who was across the map, and then a single lady able to take him out. If you guys had any more opportunity to maybe get a little distance on each other, it could have gone the other way, but the timing from Empyreal was impeccable, and of course the heads-up maneuvers by their lights to really take down some key mechs was big. And
yeah, he's got the wild one fever, I think. I'll beat it out of him.
Beat it out of him
eventually. Yeah,
yes.
I'll get rid of it. It might take a while though. It might take a few more drops.
There you go. Saruman, anything else from you?
Yeah, one final question if we're getting close to the end of the interview process. Now, Krasnopesky, your team won on kills. Bowser, your team won on drops. Which one of you guys felt won?
Oh, EMP won.
I would say we won for sure.
Yeah.
But even so, Bowser, this is the heart of the question I want to ask. Kraz, the drops you guys won were decisive, and the drops you lost were close. Bowser, the drops you lost were decisive losses, and the drops you won were very much
except
very
for the
close.
last one, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, the last one, yeah.
This is what I'm referring to, the meat and potatoes of the question. Despite the fact that the numbers say 3-2, Black Omen was up on kills, and their losses were actually quality losses. So, once again, I ask, who do you think won, and who do you think really lost?
I think we won. Again, I repeat my statement. I think our losses were purely due to drop. Just my opinion.
Kraz, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was close, and I'm looking forward to our next match. But yeah, EMP has taken away more points than us.
Fair enough.
Unfortunately, I was very disappointed, Bowser, that I didn't see any ATMs from you. I must say. Like, I mean, was that...
I've been doing some experimenting, as you've seen in the drops, so...
We'll have to see.
Maybe you'll have to tune in, what is that, week 5?
In fact, I can pretty much guarantee you I will be taking ATMs at some point.
Alright.
Awesome. Oh, well, thanks for the interview, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for answering some of our questions, and great match today. 3-2 decision, of course. Exciting. Hopefully the crowd enjoyed it as well. So we will catch you guys later, and thanks for coming by.
Thanks for shoutcasting, guys. Good game.
Yeah, great game.
Bowser. Gentlemen.
GG's.
GG's. All right, and that's going to be it for the cast. Let's go ahead and do another giveaway just before we finish here. Let's load up the names into the tool and get started. This is for 1000 MC. Ah, what a hell of a match. I hope every single match I cast turns out like that. It is awesome.
I hope so too. Like, you know, Toaster and I have casted some close matches. We've also casted some rolls. But so far, this has been the highlight of the night. Even with Eon Synergy and Phoenix Legion being considered, that match was filled with loads of surprises. But this match was still something to see.
Yep. Chimera XI, you are the winner of 1000 MC. I'll send you a message on Twitch from my account after the stream is concluded with your key. Congratulations. But that is going to be it for us today. Once again, if you were wondering, MDM's not here because he borked his computer because he's terrible at it, apparently. I don't know. He's a rocket scientist, but he fries his motherboard. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me either. But, of course, thank you, Saruman, for filling in such like short notice. I truly appreciate it, and hopefully everybody enjoyed this interesting combo of me and Saruman casting.
You know what? It was my pleasure. Like I said, working with a pro like you helps me learn a little bit, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Catch us next time. Make sure you guys are following the channel, MWO Leagues, and, of course, the second channel, MWO Leagues 2, to make sure that you catch all of the action. It is more than just MOR. They've got 1v1, 2v2 leagues, all kinds of things. Merrick Civil War... no, Battle for Midway. Jeez, I'm dating myself. But, yeah, Follow the channel. It's awesome. And I think they have a subscription button now, so subscribe too. Why not? Just do it.
Yes, we do. A nice big subscription button at the top. Any subs would help the channel. It'd purely be used to help grow the streamers and grow the competitive leagues.
Awesome. You know what? I've got my Twitch Prime sub available. Boom. Let's do that right now. I just
believe
subscribed.
I have my Twitch Prime sub is going to be available tomorrow, so that is when I will use mine, good sir.
Excellent. So if you guys have Twitch Prime, of course, you can Amazon Prime, you can attach it to Twitch. You get 1 free subscription every month. Make sure you guys use it wisely and support MWO Comp, MWO Leagues, and MOR. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. I am BanditB17, and of course, this is Saruman. We will see you guys later.
Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.